Germany will soon be facing a crisis. As Germany has embargoed Russia, Russia has begun to lessen the amount of natural gas being sent to the country, causing gas prices and electricity bills to skyrocket. While Germany has said that it plans to reduce its reliance on Russian gas, these goals are set years off in 2024, and even then many don't expect it to be done as efficiently. What is happening in Germany? What does Russia have to do with it? And how could a possible German crisis play out? But before we go any further, let's take a quick minute to thank today's sponsor, Speakly, an immersive, practical, and unique language learning app. Speakly has taken a bold new approach to language learning that emphasizes practical foundational language skills in a rewarding and engaging way. Developed by two polyglots who both speak 7 languages, years of researching thousands of language learners went into creating Speakly and its method that will have you speaking a new language within a matter of months. Learn at home or on the go by using Speakly on the web or on your mobile device. Right now, you can try Speakly for yourself totally free for a full 7 days by clicking the link in the description. And if you like the program, you'll get 60% off on your annual subscription. So go ahead and learn a new language. It's practical and lots of fun. Give it a try. Now, back to the video. To understand the issues Germany faces today, we need to take a look back at Germany after World War II. The nation immediately following was split into several occupation zones by the victorious Allied powers, before eventually having the liberal democratic zones of France, Britain, and America unified into a singular West German state, while the Soviet eastern half would remain separate. During this time, West Germany would see an economic boom known as the Miracle on the Rhine, where the automotive and various other manufacturing industries would supply the German economy with plenty of jobs and revenue for its war-weary citizens. This would allow Germany to recover as it became a part of the European coal and steel community, the predecessor to the EU. Now with both Germanys reuniting, the nation saw its energy demands grow, and within Western Germany, green anti-nuclear and anti-fossil fuel groups contributed to an inability for German supply to meet demand. This would lead Germany to seek foreign sources for natural gas, which it had a high demand for due to its colder climate. This is where Russia would come into the picture. Being a producer of natural gas, Russia made a logical partner for Germany as well as the rest of Europe due to growing energy demands and a general sense of hostility that many European people held toward exploiting fossil fuels themselves. Which seems almost similar to the old medieval Christian monarchs partaking the despised practice of usury not themselves but through willing third parties. A matter of this may be immoral for me, but if someone else does it, I can still benefit from it. A both hypocritical and impractical approach. Now this arrangement would lead relations to warm between the two nations, forming a mutually beneficial partnership. That was until the Russian annexation of Crimea, with Germany siding with the West for obvious reasons and actually leading many of the talks on sanctioning Russia. This would include sanctions on Russian banking and oil, along with allies of the Russian government. Still, Germany and much of Europe would continue to import Russian gas. This would once again change with another instance of Russian action in Ukraine, this time in the form of an invasion of the nation, with Russia at present occupying and annexing much of the southeast. This has led the West to impose far stricter sanctions on Russia, with many companies leaving the nation in the wake of the sanctions. Furthermore, NATO and the West as a whole have been sending mass amounts of weapons into Ukraine, which has allowed the war to continue on. But Russia also had an economic weapon of its own, that natural gas Europe had been so dependent upon. Throughout the months following the beginning of the conflict, Russia gradually reduced, or even cut off in the case of some nations, its supply of natural gas. This has not had a severe impact yet, mainly due to this beginning in the summer and spring months of 2022. However, as winter approaches, many Germans and Europeans as a whole will have difficulty heating their homes due to a lack of supply and increased prices. The broader international reaction to this has been one of acceptance. Hard times lie ahead, so be it, being a common sentiment echoed in many international journals. This is true domestically for some nations, primarily those in Eastern Europe who fear Russian domination after only having recently broken away, or those in Western Europe who are not as reliant on Russian gas. However, within Germany there is more division on the issue, with the nation both not being within a threatened proximity to Russia, but also being more reliant on its natural gas, producing what German Prime Minister Olaf Scholz calls a powder keg for society. This prediction by Scholz has proven true for much of the nation, seen in the recent protests on October 22nd, when tens of thousands of Germans took to the streets in cities across the country. A number of different political stances emerged in the marches, some being Greens demanding that the remaining 3 nuclear power plants in Germany be shut off even though they supply invaluable energy. Some being members of the left demanding that energy credits be given to the poor, and others being right-wingers demanding Germany stop sending weapons to Ukraine and stop embargoing Russia to solve the energy crisis. Even with some similar demands, the left has tried to distance itself from the right and its more radical positions. In addition, the protests being considered more right-wing has prevented them from becoming truly large-scale. But one thing that cannot be understated is the recent rise in support for the AfD, or Alternative for Deutschland, Germany's most right-wing mainstream party. The AfD in recent months has been steadily gaining a percentage point each month in terms of support and voting intention, rising to 15% support among the German population, with the numbers only continuing to rise. Furthermore, Germany's long-running ruling party, the moderate CDU, or Christian Democratic Union, has seen a steady decline. However, the biggest pressure which rests on Germany is not only the shortages or political polarization it faces, but the looming threat of recession. As many economists have noted that while Germany will see small positive growth this year due to the shortages only now becoming a serious issue, it is assured that there will be an economic contraction, potentially by 7.9% should this winter prove to be especially cold and consumption not lowered enough by the government. In addition, there is the potential for regional blackouts due to many in Germany purchasing electric heaters, which could strain Germany's electrical grid, which could further negatively impact the economy. Meanwhile, the government has tried to lessen the impact with a €200 billion spending program set to lower energy and gas prices for the time being. However, the long-term impacts of this are uncertain. These pressures could lead to a variety of outcomes, however, all contribute to a potential crisis in Germany, which threatens the stability of the European order and polarizes Germany and Europe as a whole. One potential outcome, and the one which Germany's moderate factions are hoping for, is that the war ends soon and the nation can get back to business as usual. The general hope is that post-war, they can lift some of the sanctions that have been placed on Russia to get the supply of natural gas back up to steady levels. The plan after that would then be to find alternative sources of natural gas and renewable energy to prevent Russia from using its hold on natural gas to destabilize Germany again. However, this is unlikely since due to the West's aid, the war in Ukraine has largely ground to a stalemate within the southwest of the country. And with Russia still having vast resources and no organized internal opposition to Putin, it's unlikely that Russia will relent, nor is it likely that Ukraine will make significant gains due to recent mobilization on the part of Russia. This leads to several other potential outcomes if Germany is in this situation for the long term. A less likely option is that should Germany face significant unrest, they may ease sanctions on Russia, which may result in punitive actions from the West. This is likely what the Russian end goal is for Germany given its central location and reliance on natural gas, with the ultimate goal being to break down the NATO coalition. We would see Germany becoming more isolated from Europe, with Eastern Europe especially showing anger towards the Germans, while Western Europe would likely remain cordial with Germany. We could see this result in greater Euroscepticism from the German populace, potentially leading to a coalition led by the AfD gaining ground. Another unlikely potential outcome is that Germany may attempt to strengthen the bonds of the European Union, trying to ease the burden of the natural gas and energy crisis, just as the European Union did for smaller, more struggling nations during the Great Recession. This could see greater federalization, with Eastern Europe being potentially more cooperative due to its former dependence on Russian natural gas. However, this would require other nations such as France and other nations further west to shoulder much of the burden, similar to how Western Europe had to shoulder the majority of the issues of the Great Recession, which largely affected Eastern and Southern Europe. This is unlikely due to the fact that France is also already facing some shortages of its own, and the Yellow Vest protests have shown that segments of France's population may create unrest if access to natural gas and other fuel were to be reduced. However, the most likely of these potential futures is that German politics become more polarized as Germany's AfD and Greens continue to gain power, and the CDU and SPD are reduced to similar relevancy as some of the smaller parties such as the FDP. This leads to greater polarization and the potential for the AfD to become the main party of the right. However, given that Germany is weary of nationalism after the events of World War II, it is unlikely the AfD in the near term of this war could gain a truly significant margin. This might lead German politics in the aftermath to become polarized, similar to the politics of many other European countries with recent victories for the right. However, there is also the chance that the Greens could gain more ground given how Germany is more weary of right-wing politics, with the additional potential of new left-wing parties forming with the decline of the Left Party. Regardless of which outcome occurs, Germany at present is the linchpin for Europe and the West, with Russia applying all the pressure it can to loosen it. This pressure will create the greatest crisis modern Germany has ever faced, with the actions of its government and people having the potential to change the geopolitical situation of Europe for a long time.